Thanks for tuning in, everybody. My name is Brock Page, and I do random sports picks for fun. You also might be very surprised as to who I'm picking in the early games today. If you just can't wait and you want to save yourself some time, check out my picks for this video in the description section below. Once again, I have to remind you that I am not a sports betting expert, nor do I implore you to take any of my picks. A wise man once said, good ain't free and free ain't good. If for some reason you decide to use the free information on this program, you're utilizing it at your own discretion. And with that said, let's get into some early game picks for the 19th. First game, Michigan, Louisville. The betting opened up with Louisville as the 2.5-point favorites and the total points at an even 140. Since then, Louisville is now -3 against the spread, with the total jumping up a point to 141. Currently, the Cards are laying 150 on the money line, and at the moment, 66% of the money's on Louisville to get the job done. Speaking of the Cards, they've performed terribly against the number as of late, covering just 2 out of their last 10 games. Out of that stretch, Louisville's failed to cover in their last 4 consecutive games. They're also covering just 20% of their games versus teams allowing less than 67 points a game. In addition to that, Louisville covers just 5 of 14 against teams winning more than 65% of their games. They're facing a Michigan squad who's won their last 6 straight, covering the spread in 5 of those 6. The Wolverines also cover a solid 67% of their games as the official road underdog. On a side note, Michigan's last 4 games have all gone over the total posted points. On the other side, Louisville games have gone over the line themselves in 3 of their previous 4. All that said, I'm ready to make some picks, and I'm in full disagreement with the bettors when it comes to the spread. That means I am taking the Michigan Wolverines +3, getting the job done against the number. On the total points, I do in fact agree with the bettors on this one, as I am taking the over 141. And when it comes to the money line cash, I got to take the Louisville Cardinals, winning this one outright by the slightest of margins. Quite unorthodox, I know. In addition to those picks, I'm also adjusting the line and taking Michigan +13 as the first pick of my 10-point super teaser. Next game, Wichita State versus Kentucky. The betting opened up with Kentucky as the 2-point favorites with the total at 153.5. Since then, Kentucky's now -4.5 against the spread with the total remaining at 153.5. Currently, UK is laying 200 on the money line, and at the moment, 57% of the money's on Kentucky to get the job done. Speaking of Kentucky, they've struggled against the number as of late, failing to cover in 3 of their last 4 most recent games. They also cover just 33% of their games away from home and just 35% as the official road favorite. They're facing a red-hot Wichita State team who's won 16 straight and covered 7 of their last 9. On a side note, the Shockers' last 4 games have all gone under the total posted points. On the other side, Kentucky's games have gone under the line themselves in 3 of their last 4. All that said, I'm once again in full disagreement with the bettors, and I got to take the Wichita State Shockers +4.5, getting the job done against the spread. When it comes to the total points, I'm taking the under 153.5. And when it comes to the money line cash, I got to take the Kentucky Wildcats, squeezing this one out in a close one. I'm also adjusting the line and taking Wichita State +14.5 as the second pick of my 10-point super teaser. Next game, Michigan State versus Kansas. The betting opened up with Kansas as the 8.5-point favorites with the total at 147.5. Since then, Kansas is now -8 against the spread with the total jumping up 0.5 point to an even 148. Currently, Kansas is laying 400 on the money line, and at the moment, 53% of the money's on Michigan State to get the job done. Speaking of Michigan State, the Spartans have done a pretty good job against the number as of late, covering 3 of their 4 most recent contests. They also cover an impressive 80% versus teams allowing more than 72 points a game. They're facing a Kansas team who has covered just 25% of their games at the current point spread. The Jayhawks are also covering just 36% of their games going in as the favorite. When it comes to the total points, Michigan State games have gone under the line in 3 of their last 4. All that said, I'm once again in full disagreement with the bettors, and I am taking Michigan State +8, getting the job done against the spread. On the total points, I once again disagree with the bettors there as well, and I'm taking the under 148. And when it comes to the money line cash, I'm picking the Kansas Jayhawks, winning this one outright in a close one. I'm also adjusting the line and taking Michigan State plus 18 as the third pick of my 10-point teaser. Next and final game for the show, Arkansas plus 10.5 versus North Carolina. Totals at 162. Currently, UNC's laying 667 on the money line, and at the moment, 64% of the bettors think the Tar Heels will get the job done against the number. Speaking of UNC, they have been getting the job done against the spread, covering in 7 of their last 9 contests. They're also covering a respectable 63% of their games versus teams allowing more than 72 points a game. They're facing an Arkansas team who can't cover with the big boys. The Razorbacks are covering a dismal 28% versus teams that win over 65% of their games. On a lighter note, Arkansas games have gone under the total posted points in 3 of their last 4. All that said, I'm ready to make my final picks, and I'm once again in full disagreement with the bettors. I think that Arkansas will get the job done plus 10.5 against the spread. When it comes to the total points, I'm taking the under 162. And when it comes to the money line cash, I'm taking the North Carolina Tar Heels, winning this one by about 10 points. I'm also adjusting the line and taking Arkansas plus 20.5 as the fourth and final pick of my 10-point teaser. Just a reminder, my 10-point Sweetheart Super Teasers pay 5 to 6 and get graded as a loss should any game result in a push. You can find this exotic wager in several online sports books and in the state of Delaware. Well, folks, that's going to do it for me. Once again, I have to remind you that I am not a sports betting expert, nor do I implore you to take any of my picks. A wise man once said, good ain't free and free ain't good. If for some reason you decide to use the free information on this program, you're utilizing it at your own discretion. Most importantly, if you're betting any of these games, do it safe, do it responsibly, and most important, have fun. For Brock Page, Predictions and Sports Picks, I'm Brock Page, and have yourself a positive day.